Welcome to Get Your Spirit in Shape, United Methodist Communications and UMC.org's podcast to help keep our souls as healthy as our bodies. I'm Joe Iovino. For this Meet a Bishop episode, I got to chat with Bishop Rodolfo Juan of the Davao Episcopal area in the Philippines. Bishop Rudy has been a United Methodist all his life.
I was born United Methodist. My grandparents were founders of the United Methodist Church in our town.
Originally, he thought he would serve people in a profession other than ministry.
I always wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted myself to be a champion of the poor.
Early in his ministry career, he served as a military chaplain.
In the Army, in the Air Force, and at the Philippine Military Academy. I was there for 5 years at the PMA, like West Point.
Today, he's a spiritual leader across the Philippines. Let's meet Bishop Rudy Juan. Bishop Rudy, welcome to Get Your Spirit in Shape.
Thank you, Brother Joe. Thank you for this opportunity of being a part of this wonderful program. I greet all our listeners, not only here in the United States, but in the Central Conferences. I greet you all in the name of Christ.
Bishop Rudy, where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Bagao, Cagayan. This is the northernmost part of the Philippines. Is a province up north. It's close to Taiwan, and it's a beautiful rustic community. A lot of rice fields, cornfields, and you could see the mountains. Beautiful. I love my hometown.
How did you start going to church? Was it something that your family did kind of every Sunday, or did you start going to church later in life?
I was born United Methodist. My grandparents were founders of the United Methodist Church in our town, and so with my parents, they were lay leaders, and so I grew up as a true blue United Methodist Church. Yeah.
Did you grow up in a church that? Did you say your grandparents may have started?
Yes.
Wow, what was that like? Where everybody knew your family so well?
Yeah, it was home. The church was a home for us, and we were a big family. My mother's side, there were 4 children, 1 son and 3 daughters. My father, they were 8 in the family, and so all of us, the Juans and the Alfonsos, we were all in that community church. So it was a big family for us, Brother Joe. Yeah.
Yeah. So your mom and dad and your grandparents must have been really influential in your faith journey.
Oh yes, they were. In fact, in my faith journeys, I always speak about my grandfather who died at 103 years old. He was able to read the Bible 7 times from cover to cover in his lifetime. And my parents also, so they were influential.
Wow, can you tell me what are some early memories of your grandfather? What was it like knowing him when you were a child?
Yeah, when I was a child, when I come home from school, he would be there. My father and his brother Jose. Mm-hmm. My father's name is Angel, and his brother Jose. They were neighbors. And my grandfather, when he was getting older and he was widowed, he stayed with my uncle and in our home. So alternately, 5 years, and 3 years. So he would be a fixture in our home or in our neighborhood. Whenever I come home from school, I would see him. I would pay my respect to him. I would always see him reading his Bible, praying. So I have great memories for my grandfather.
Yeah, and he must have taught you a lot, it sounds like, by his life and by his words and example.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Did you know all along that you were going into ministry in the United Methodist Church?
Not until when I was second year high school, Brother Joe. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to become a lawyer. The reason is in our community we call it barrio or barangay, mm-hmm. or like a county or a community. There were lots of poor farmers and who were denied justice, and I wanted myself to be a like a champion of the poor, to fight for their human rights, and so I nurtured in my heart that dream to become a lawyer.
Hmm.
But something happened when I was second year high school that I got influenza, pretty bad. Influenza flu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got sick, and I heard the doctor in the hospital, a small hospital, a clinic, telling my dad. It was October 1975, telling my dad that I wouldn't make it, but if I would be alive the next dawn, the next day, then I will surpass the health issue.
Oh, okay. So you had
And
like a crisis
so,
night when you were sick. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? I managed to kneel down on my sick bed in the hospital, and I prayed, and I made a commitment with the Lord
Mm-hmm.
that if He would heal me, then I want to offer my life to become a pastor.
Wow.
It was a miraculous healing. That was a very faithful evening. The next day, I was healed miraculously,
Yeah.
and so I became a pastor.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw in a biography of yours that at some point you were in the Philippines Armed Services as a chaplain. Was that like right out of seminary?
Yes, yes. I was. I graduated, my friend, in 1985 from Union Theological Seminary,
Mm-hmm.
and then from 1981 to 1985, I was a student pastor,
Oh, yeah.
and then 85 to 89, I was a full-time local pastor, a mission worker, a ministry developer.
Wow.
But in 1989, I was blessed to be able to go to Columbia Theological Seminary in the United States, in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
finish my Doctor of Ministry. In 1991, I went back to the Philippines and ministered at Knox United Methodist Church, the biggest and oldest church in the Philippines, one of the four pastors. And in 1994, I entered the military chaplain service. That's when, you read it for 14 years. 14 years. I served in the Army, in the Air Force, and at the Philippine Military Academy. I was there for 5 years at the PMA, like West Point.
Wow.
And those were glorious years in my ministry. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very special ministry that not everyone does. What were some of the rewarding parts of that journey?
Rewarding part is like I believe by God's grace, I was able to make an impact, a difference in the armed forces of the Philippines. First, as a chaplain, instructor, counselor of young cadets in the Philippine Army from 97 to 2002, that's 5 years. I made a lot of difference, influence in the lives of young cadets. Now, if we fast forward, now that I am a bishop,
Mm-hmm.
my cadets are either major, captain, major, or lieutenant colonel, spread out in the country.
Right.
And now that I'm in Mindanao, where most of the army is assigned, almost in every corner, in every province in Mindanao, somebody would salute to me. Somebody would say, "Hello, sir. Good evening.
Wow.
Good afternoon."
Yeah.
They are there as officers. And another is I was assigned in four local churches, military churches, and by the grace of God, He used me to either build up their kindergarten schools and physically the building, the church, the
Yeah.
sanctuary, and the pastoral house. God used me, so I'm very thankful. I'm very
Wow.
thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a long career in pastoral ministry before becoming a bishop.
hmm
What's it like being a bishop?
Yeah, Brother Joe, I'm happy to inform you that I'm the only bishop in the Philippines who was assigned consecutively in the 3 episcopal areas. When I got elected in 2008, I was assigned in Baguio Episcopal area. Re-elected in 2012, I was in Manila area. Now, in my third re-election, I'm now in Davao Episcopal area. There are only 3 episcopal areas. And the rewarding thing is to be able to, influence young pastors, retiring pastors, deaconesses in the whole of the Philippines is in itself a blessing.
Wow.
Of course, I've always had the passion of evangelism and discipleship. Earlier on in my being a college student, I've been to discipleship, and a young pastor, I've been to missions and evangelism. And now that I'm a bishop, with some form of leadership, servant leadership, I see to it that churches would make a turnaround, vitalization, church growth. And I've seen that in the whole Philippines. I have other programs like tree planting. You have read in the UMNS that I led for 4 years tree planting, and now in Mindanao we had October 14th as the day-wide tree planting program. It was in the UMNS, and it's a big program. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I ask every guest of Get Your Spirit in Shape to share with us something that they do that they would recommend other people try that helps keep them close to God. So what's something that you do that helps keep your spiritual life full?
Yes, the spiritual disciplines, of course. I for 2 quadrennia already, for 8 years, I've had this covenant96.com. It's an organized prayer time wherever you are, whatever you're doing, 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. It also goes with the UMC the UMC Discipleship for Christ program, that it has a component of what we call journal writing, quiet time. It's personal devotion, as it is in care group. I also am the National Spiritual Director of the Emmaus Walk, Philippines Emmaus Walk, and this is a 5-year program. I brought this to the Philippines, and we are growing. Have you been to Emmaus Walk?
I have not. I am aware of it, but I haven't been on a walk, no.
Yeah, we've been doing that. And these are, spiritually grounding activities, and I find strength in all this. Yeah.
I hear that's just an amazing time for the people that I know that have had the opportunity to take advantage of an Emmaus walk.
Great.
Well, thank you so very, very much for talking to me today.
Thank you, Brother Joe. Okay. It's a blessing to talk with you.
That was United Methodist Bishop Rudy Juan of the Davao Episcopal area in the Philippines. Learn more about Bishop Rudy, the United Methodist Church in the Philippines, and listen to other Meet a Bishop episodes by going to umc.org/podcasts. Look for Get Your Spirit in Shape, episode 28. There's a link to my email address on that page so you can send me your thoughts on our Meet a Bishop series and our regular episodes. Also, please take a moment to review Get Your Spirit in Shape on iTunes or wherever you download our podcast. Good reviews help people find us. Thanks again for listening. We will be back soon with another conversation to help keep our souls as healthy as our bodies. I'm Joey Avino. Peace.